over 6 feet tall, must love dogs. And then on and on and on. How about really must like to travel? Are these good qualities to look for in a partner, or is there something else? Stick around. Today on the Astound Yourself Dating Show, we discuss these and more. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Astound Yourself Dating Show. My name is Richard Francois, your dating strategist, and with me tonight we have my illustrious co-host. Your name, illustrious co-host?
Illustrious co-host Elaine Saunders.
Elaine Saunders, reporting for duty, everybody. Today we are going to talk about the top 5 qualities that this article at least talks about. We're going to put it in the comments later. I don't have it handy, but we'll put it in the comments. We found an article that talks about some of the qualities to look for in a partner. I think it's pretty good. I think Elaine thinks it's pretty good because she suggested it. And we are going to just take some time.
I'm going to see if I can put it in the comments right now.
We're going to take some time, and we're going to go ahead and talk about it tonight. So I want to welcome everybody who's watching. And if you're watching, do share the show with your friends. Have them come on and watch as well. Say hello, ask a question. We love to interact with our viewers during this show.
Did that work? I tried to put it in the private chat on the website.
I'll take a look.
Okay.
All right. So again, welcome to the show. If you are here, just say hello, and would love to say hi to you. We don't have any comments here, but we are going to keep going. So let's, Elaine, you are a matchmaker.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that when you speak with your clients, you probably tell them about some things not to do, some things to do. How does this article line up with the things you suggest to people for what to look for in a partner?
Okay. So, interestingly enough, I've found it very, very interesting and sometimes very frustrating for me when clients come to me and they're looking for something that is counterintuitive to what I believe are the most important qualities to find in a person, Richard. And so this article is very, very interesting in that I posted in several singles groups for them to post the qualities they're looking for. And sure enough, some of the things that they're looking for didn't come up in this article. So it'll be interesting to go over what the article says and what you and I might think and what maybe some of the general consensus might be. For example, the very first thing you mentioned when you opened the show was height.
Yes.
How tall somebody is. It's amazing to me how important it is. I don't know about men because it doesn't come up in a conversation.
I think the way women look at height is the way most men look at weight.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So with that being said, it's amazing to me how I've met women who will dice or slice a man, specifically their height, by a half an inch, or cut an opportunity out to meet a man because of his height. And literally, I will get an email from somebody 2 or 3 years later wondering why they haven't met anybody. And I think back to all the men that they declined meeting on a height issue.
So you send them like a spreadsheet of all those guys and all the other qualities that they had?
Trust me, it's tempting. I get my point across in a way, but some people are just very stuck and stubborn on that issue. And they're married to it. And therefore, they're not married.
I bet they are. Well, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go into those 5 qualities. And if you are watching and you have qualities that we don't mention that you think are important to mention as far as good qualities to find in a long-term partner, mention those as well. Sure, I understand that for many women, it'd be nice to have somebody who's tall. But what about the substantial stuff, the stuff that really, when things get difficult, really, really matter? Let's take a look at the first one. First quality on the list from the article is this one: empathy. Empathy being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. When they tell you how they feel, how something bothers them, or even before they tell you, you might stop and ask yourself, how might so and so feel about that? So I'm going to put myself out there. I wasn't planning on doing this. I'm going to put myself out there. Just recently, somebody sent me a private message. And this was somebody who sent me a private message from a different Facebook group that I'm a part of. Oh, now I hear myself as an echo. So whatever you did there, you want to change that.
Yeah, I got it. I'm sorry.
And they sent me a private message saying, "Hey, I'd like to as a gratitude for how wonderful of a contribution you've made to this group I'm a part of, I'd like to just invite you out to grab a bite at this particular place that I like." And I paused. I knew not to respond right away. And I paused and I checked with some of the guys that I trust. And I asked my girlfriend, what do you think of this? Like, how would you feel about this? It's not clear that this person's clearly hitting on me. It's possible that she is. And at the same time, I don't want to simply accuse her of that and say, hey, I have a girlfriend, back off. What do you think? And she simply said, well, how would you feel if somebody asked me this, if somebody sent me a similar message?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not able to answer that, like to actually put yourself in that position, that's a lack of empathy.
Right. Oh,
if
absolutely.
you only are able to see life your way, from your perspective, you need to practice empathy. And so if you're wondering how the story ended, no, I declined the invitation. I'm not going to be having a meal with this grateful stranger who I just decided to opt out of that with some good feedback from my girlfriend.
Well, absolutely. It's awesome that you checked in with her, and and I belong to a lot of groups where people put their thoughts and feelings out about things that go on in their relationship, because sometimes you feel like you have to kind of double check in with people to say, am I crazy for feeling like this? Because my boyfriend and my girlfriend just made me feel like I was crazy for feeling like this. And the perfect example you just gave, where how would she feel? How would she feel? Or how would you feel if it was the opposite way around? And some people absolutely do lack that empathy. So if a person does lack that empathy, it's going to be a rough road. It's going to be a really rough road ahead.
I feel like we might need to do a show on gaslighting, which is not a new phenomenon, but it's a term that's been buzzing around as of late. It's hard to recognize that. I feel like that could be something we'll talk about in sometime in the future, how to notice that and what to do about it. Right. But let's just take a moment here and say hi to one of our viewers. Teresa is back. Hello, Teresa. Thank you for watching the show, and thanks for saying hi. And if you have a question or a comment, absolutely add it here. We're just going to continue on with the other topics. I'm going to go back to our topics. Now, topic number 2. I'm a personal fan of this one. I think y'all will realize why once I share it. Boom. Point number 2, humor. Look.
Oh my goodness.
Elaine has a sense of humor. All she has to do is see the word humor and she starts chuckling. That's very good. You want to find someone who displays humor, whether you're a man or a woman, regardless of whom you're dating or in a relationship with. Humor is important. It doesn't mean that they should be able to give a 30-minute stand-up comedy set. It just means that they ought to be able to find and make light, particularly in difficult situations. I'll give an example from my life. This is about a previous girlfriend. This previous girlfriend of mine, she needed to get a ride to the airport, and so she requested the ride of me. It was at a time that was not particularly pleasant, 4:00 in the morning. And so I began to brainstorm ideas of how she could get to the airport without me having to get up at 4:00 in the morning. She then says, hey, I know what we're going to do. I know what I'm going to do. My sister lives near the airport. I'll just stay with her. I'll stay with her, and then I can just get to the airport in the morning. And I said, you know, honey, I like that idea. And let me tell you why. Before I could even finish, she says, because you don't love me? Now, this could have turned upside down and become a whole mess, an argument.
It got really ugly really fast. Yeah.
I know. She says, because you don't love me? And with us missing a beat, I smiled. I said, well, that's one of the reasons. And she just starts laughing. I start laughing. She's able to say her piece after that, and it all ends well. Because we're able to just take something that could turn into a big fight and make a quick joke. And I make a quick joke. She gets I'm making a quick joke. And we're able to do that. That's humor. That's being able to get each other's jokes. I think that's a very important thing. If by the time I would go on a first date with somebody, I found that she just was serious and kept looking at me like nothing I said was funny, she didn't get a second date because I know I'm hilarious.
You are funny, Richard. You are definitely a funny guy. I mean, when
Ben says it, it's true.
It's true. I mean, on or off camera, you know, we giggle a lot. So, you know, you are funny. You are definitely a funny guy. But the truth is, life is going to throw you a lot of curveballs. It's not going to go smooth as silk. Times are going to get tough. And what's going to get you through that? And I'll tell you, humor is going to get you through that. If you can't laugh during hard times or find things to kind of break that stress for stress relief, laughter and humor. There's nothing, well, there might be one thing better than humor, but other than that, humor.
An appetite for Jell-O? What are you talking about, Elaine?
We'll talk off camera, honey.
I know. I can see it in your eyes. You're thinking about ice cream. I just knew you were in trouble. Elaine's thinking about ice cream.
Humor's like the second. It's definitely like the second best thing.
You're over here on a live show, and all you think about is ice cream. You women are all the same. You only think about ice cream.
Ben and Jerry's Haagen-Dazs. Ben and Jerry's Haagen-Dazs. Yeah, ice cream and humor. What was I saying? I can't even think now. Yeah, humor is
being able to get you through tough times. Seriously.
And that, you know, honestly, the thing that I fell madly in love with my late husband because he was a funny motherfucker. He was so funny. He made me laugh every day, and he displayed his love for me by trying to make me laugh all the time. That's how he caught me. That is how he caught me. He got me with his sense of humor.
And you know, guys.
It came in handy it came in handy a lot. Got us through a lot of stuff. Awesome. So, aces, sense of humor, up there. Imperative. Definitely.
Well, there you have it. From the matchmaker herself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sense of humor is key.
Yeah, he's missing that. You send him on his way. Toodaloo.
Send them packing.
That's right.
If you're just joining us, we are talking about an article.
Anne Marie's right. Did you see her comment?
I didn't see it. What did she say?
Humor makes her humor makes her clothes fall off.
Oh, well, listen to Anne Marie. I love Anne Marie's willingness to share.
Who is this Anne Marie? I don't know this.
Good.
Apparently she knows me.
Observation, Anne Marie. I agree.
I'm an open book. So
it's a very good observation. Yes. So guys, take note of this. Humor makes her clothes fall off. Take an improv class. Take a stand-up class. They're different things, by the way. Stand-up and improv are very different. But take one of each. Take one of each. Improv will allow you to learn how to think and speak on your feet. And stand-up will make you more of an observant person about what's funny in life and how to actually draw the humor out of it. I think they're both good things to do, fun things to do. Guy, girl, gal, or whatever you want to say it. I don't like to say girl because I don't say boy. So if I'm referring to a guy as a man or a guy, I prefer to say woman instead of girl. That's just my thing.
Okay.
But yes, Anne-Marie, good point. Let's go to number 3. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or shall we jump to number 3, Elaine?
We can go right on to number 3 because we're halfway through the show already, and we're only on number 2.
Oh, that's right. Well, number 3. How apropos. Number 3 is this one. Number 3 is the willingness to keep talking. And here we are. We got to keep talking.
No problem here.
Now, this is not meaning willingness to just keep blabbing on about something that makes no sense or just talk your ear off. It's the willingness to stick through a difficult conversation rather than storming off or shutting down.
Shutting down, yeah.
For some people, storming off or shutting down is what they know when things get difficult. But that does not make for a strong partnership.
True.
That does not make for some partnership. You got to be able to practice sticking through the muddy, difficult conversations. In a way, you could say that courtship has 2 stages. The first stage is, or love has 2 stages, attraction. There's the stage where we're playing a little bit of poker. Let's see who's going to show their cards first. It's a little smiley face here, a little fun here. I'm not going to divulge all my feelings all in one shot because that could just ruin the game. So playing poker. But there's a time when all the cards are laid out, that game's over, and now we're playing a new game. And the new game is called Tough Mudder. If you've ever done a mud run, Tough Mudder, Spartan, whichever, you know that stuff gets messy. You get all bruised up and banged up. You might end up limping a little bit. You might even have to carry your partner through certain obstacles, or there's things you cannot do by yourself. You got to turn around and get help or push somebody up and then you turn and give you help. And so the first part is the courtship. And the second part is the long-term relationship that could lead to marriage and etc. And if you're not willing to get in the mud with somebody and just like lose both of your sneakers and continue running together, you have some growing to do because that's a part of it. No relationship is perfectly pretty all the time. That's just not the way it works. Elaine, what do you think?
It's true. The willingness to keep on talking, that's something I know for me, trying to become a little bit more self-aware as I grow older and older. It's not easy. It's not easy if you grew up in an atmosphere where you habitually retreated or just kind of dialed it back and did the silent treatment thing, not to be passive aggressive, but because you were taught as a child, do as you're told, don't, you didn't have a right to speak your mind. And that's kind of how you were trained up. Then you find yourself in adult relationships, not really speaking up. And that doesn't work. I mean, you can't work on a relationship if you're not willing to talk and talk things through. So being able to discuss problems and talk things through, if you're not willing to do that, I mean, it's tough. It's tough putting your cards out on the table, opening your heart up to somebody, being vulnerable. It hurts like hell. But if you're not willing to be vulnerable and expose your pain to somebody else, then you're not going to get to the juicy love stuff. And
there you go. Juicy love stuff. I just love that name. The juicy love stuff.
Yeah,
I think John Mayer sums it up in his song best. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to try to sing like John Mayer, but you get it. You gotta speak those things out and speak them in a way that is responsible and thoughtful, but actually
it's scary.
Across. And on the other side, as somebody speaking to you, your partner is speaking to you, being able to listen, even if you want to then find yourself want to be defensive, fight the urge to just defend and just listen first. Right. Listen first.
Well, don't you think it's terrifying to speak your heart and be afraid that you're not going to be received the way you want to be received?
Oh, it's an absolute fear, and it's valid. It's valid. It's what
better intimacy. Safe than sorry, so you take that position. Well, I'm better safe than sorry. It's easier to not talk. If I don't talk, I can't be rejected. My feelings can't be hurt. I'm going to be hurt either way. Or it's going to hurt worse if I say how I really feel and then I'm rejected. If I do the walking, I won't be the one who's getting the boot.
But if you say how you really feel within the context of a relationship, mm-hmm. and the relationship doesn't work. Like the person walks away because you're expressing your needs and what you feel. They just walk away. Is that somebody you would have wanted to be around with anyway?
Right.
Because that person's showing that their capacity is limited to only being able to be there for the good times.
Right.
And that's not all we have.
Well,
That's not all we have.
that's when it becomes, being an adult enough to be secure in your own, your own needs and wants, and not letting somebody else.
Part of why we have this show is because dating is a personal development journey. You don't start out. How do I say this? So the person you are 2 years into a relationship is not the same person you were when you first got into that relationship. Hopefully you've done some growing along the way to still be in that relationship 2 years later and to keep it, especially if it's getting better. And if you think, no, I haven't changed a bit, well, get to work. And find something to elevate and do better about yourself. Doesn't mean that something is wrong or bad with you. It just means that you gotta always keep growing. You can't just think, oh, I've made it, I'm good, I'm just gonna chill now. You gotta be growing physically or personally or emotionally or mentally, at least in one of those areas. Spiritually, you cannot think you're gonna stay static and that the relationship is just gonna take care of itself. Just like you buy a plant and you go, okay, I bought the plant, done, job is done. I don't have to water it, look at it, pluck it, give it some sun, water. Yeah, I said water it already. You can tell I have a plant, right? The analogy works whether or not I have a plant, people. You gotta take care of the thing. You won't just like magically take care of itself. It needs to be nurtured, and that's a relationship. It's gotta get nurtured. Mm-hmm. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about this article, 5 qualities to look for in a long-term partner. We just discussed quality number 3. If you missed qualities number 1 through 3, that's okay. The show is being recorded. You can go back later and watch the whole thing. In the meantime, stick around, say hi, ask a question. I think we have a new comment. Let's take a look at who it is and what they said. Carla was saying, being able to tell my partner anything and everything is key to keeping a relationship going. I could not have said it better myself. Could you, Elaine? I think this is very well said.
Well, if I could have, I'd still be with them.
There's that sense of humor again. There's that sense of humor.
Sorry.
All right. So excellent point. Thank you for sharing that. Excellent point.
No, yeah.
Let's go to number 4. Quality number 4 is understands the basics of how emotions work.
Ooh,
basics. We're not saying they need to have a degree in psychology or needs to have read all the latest and greatest books on human connections, but they need to understand the basics of how emotions work. For example, when somebody is crying, it's probably not best to say, get over yourself. When somebody is telling you about their coworker who is a whatever, fill in whatever blank you wish, when they're telling you about that, you don't say, well, just go to your boss. What's wrong with you? Not supportive.
Right.
So understanding the basics of how emotions work. Go ahead, Elaine.
Well, and the one thing the article pointed out is you really need to find somebody who won't take your moods so personally. In other words, they shouldn't, not that they should take you with a grain of salt, but you're going to have good days and bad days. So from an emotional standpoint, for example, if you just go through a series of events that are kind of not that nice, like let's say you suffer a loss or something happens in your family or something that's really a bummer, you might go through a depression or a time of grief. And you may not be yourself. And if your partner is going to look at you and say, you're a real buzzkill, what's wrong with you? Let's go out and party. And they can't tolerate the fact that you're having a little bit of a rough time because of a circumstance and you're a human being with a human heart that needs some time to grieve, then that's not a good person to be with. You need someone who's going to be with you for those good times and the bad times, and have the compassion and the empathy. So you need to be with somebody who will, understand that, they honor your emotions when they're good and bad.
I think that's a great summary of it, Elaine, being able to honor your emotions. Doesn't mean that they have to agree with them, embrace them and make them their own, amplify them. It just means they need to honor them, meaning that they can respect your emotions as valid. That's where you are at the moment. That maybe you're scared, nervous, sad, angry, whatever the emotion is. Okay, it's a valid emotion for the moment, and just be there with that person as they're experiencing that emotion. Now, is somebody stuck in a very particular negative emotion chronically? Well, that could mean there's some underlying issues.
Right.
We all go through the roller coaster of emotions.
Right. We don't stay static ever. So, of course, it's nice to have somebody might recognize you're in a crisis and need help if it's a mental health crisis, of course.
Yes. And it's also useful to have somebody who can be on the opposite end of emotion from where you are. So maybe if you're depressed, there's somebody there who is uplifting or encouraging. If you are sad, there's somebody there who's empathetic. Doesn't mean they have to be happy.
Right.
Perhaps what you need is empathy right now.
Right.
Or you just got to have somebody agree with you and just like, oh, somebody's mad. Who do I need to go tell off for you, honey?
Or maybe they do something, just a little something to lift you up. Maybe they come home with a little bag from Five Guys with some French fries for you because they know you like French fries. Or
and it can be that simple, Elaine. You're so right. It could be that simple. It could be that you just touch their shoulder and they just melt, because a massage is always welcome with that person. It could be that simple. It doesn't need to be some grandiose gesture, buying ticket to gosh knows what and spending a bunch of money. It's just that, hey, I was thinking about you in a very specific way. Right. I know this would cheer you up, so I did that for you.
Yeah. Right. And the flip side is you really have to be on the watch for people who may be aware of what triggers you in a negative way. And if you see that person is keenly aware and uses that to their advantage to hurt you, then you need to run for the hills.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So we have one more comment here. We're going to show that, and we'll share the last of the 5 qualities. So this comment comes from Carla once again. Carla is really on fire tonight with her comments. Carla says, definitely agree with this, and also knowing what his love language is. It's going to take time, though, if both your love languages are quite different from each other. Yes, love languages might be something that we discuss in another show. If you haven't read that book, what is the author's name? Gary, I forget his last name. We should probably talk about that book. It's a great book that talks about how people experience love, but also how they give it. It's brilliant. It's totally, totally brilliant. It breaks something that sometimes is complicated in very, very simple terms. So thank you for bringing up 5 love languages, Carla.
Thank you, Carla.
Let us go into our final topic from the article. And it's this one. Number 5, the importance of establishing ground rules. That is critical. That is critical, because there might come situations that are unusual, and your partner may not be right there with you for you to navigate those situations. But what are the ground rules? And if you're not, when in doubt, sometimes it's best to do nothing until you can confer with your partner. But there are ground rules that must be in place, and then you act according to those ground rules. It's not a very romantic word, but think of it like a contract. It's a verbal contract that you have with your partner. You can expect X, Y, and Z from me, and I will not do A, B, or C. And same for you, whatever that thing might be. It might be that things that you don't want are okay with your partner, and things that are okay with you are not so with your partner. So don't just assume because it's one way for you that it's automatically that way for the other person. Talk about things. Talk about what bothers you. Talk about what you're okay with. So it might be, for example, spending much time on Facebook Messenger with an ex might not be cool. You need to know what those things are. Elaine, what do you think? Number 5.
I think it's this is like the one thing I remember growing up, and I've heard it over and over again. I don't hear much of it anymore, and I don't even know where it came from. I don't know if it's like old school Dear Abby or Irma Bombeck or some old school something or other advice about relationships. And actually, there's like a marriage. It's like the secret to a successful marriage, how to stay married happily. And it was real super simple. And the ground rule was don't go to sleep angry at each other. Simple, profound.
So then stay up all night?
No, just make sure you do not hold that grudge before you turn out the lights. You kiss and make up somehow, whatever it takes, because your marriage, if that's what you're into, if you're married, or if it's a relationship, I mean, it's a whole different story if you're not married yet and just dating. But yeah, ground rules. You need to have ground rules if you want this to work. It shouldn't be willy-nilly, whatever, if you value it.
Yeah, excellent point, Elaine. And we're going to go ahead and share the link to the article in the comments later. We weren't able to do that before the show started. But that is our time for today, everybody. Our time has flown by. We want to thank everybody, particularly Teresa, with Anne Marie, Carla, and I think we also had some likes from Tom and Aaron. So thank you all for watching the show today. Share the show with your friends. Share the page with your friends, and like our page if you haven't done so yet. We want to just continue increasing our likes, our followers, so that we can offer this content to more and more and more people. Before we go, I want to let you know I want Elaine to let you know how she can be found. Elaine, tell everybody where they can find you.
Facebook. Easy to find me on Facebook. And then if you go to datenh.com, drop me a note, send me a line, send me your email address. I'll put you on our mailing list, keep up to date with events, things like that.
And for Facebook, you should look for Dynamic Introductions, right?
Correct. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes. So there you go. So for Facebook, look for Dynamic Introductions, and you'll find Elaine there. And for me, you can find me here on this page at Astound Yourself Dating, or you can go to grichard360.com where you can find all my other stuff. Everybody, thank you so much for watching tonight's show. We look forward to seeing you next week. We have a great one prepared for you. We will see you then. Until next time, remember, don't just be yourself, enhance yourself. Have a good night.
Bye.